Good morning. Welcome to Wednesday, my friends. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Last month in October, I talked a lot about pendulums. And I had some people go, well, I don't know what that is, or I have one, but I don't know how to use it. And I wanted to give you guys more tools, like tangible tools that you can, well, hold in your hand. I know I give you guys a lot of tools that can support you through meditation and mindfulness practice, but I wanted to start to explore more on the pendulum and other tools that can support you. Yes, I've talked about tarot. I haven't really delved into oracle. I want to work with the tarot a bit more because, of course, if you can read tarot, you're going to be able to use the symbols of tarot as tarot and oracle share similar symbol systems. But I wanted to give you something simple and easy to use. It's a very user friendly tool. Now, what a pendulum is basically you have, uh, I'm sure it has technical words. I don't know what they're technically called, but you get this kind of end piece that's a bit bigger. It's usually in this kind of arrowhead shape. Then you get a cord. And no, you don't need to technically have the crystals on the end. And many of them will have a little piece to hold on to. This one's pretty elaborate. A friend of mine bought it for me. And no, you do not need to have your friend or someone buy it for you. Okay. Sometimes there's just as simple as the base here, the pointer with a long cord. A lot of them come in the chains, but it can be as easy as a leather cord, a piece of twine. It just kind of has to be able to dangle, all right? Pendulums are easy to find and relatively inexpensive. Right? The they can have a crystal end. They can have a wooden dowel or a wooden end. Somewhere along the line, I picked this one up that has a metal end with the chain, and then it has a little kind of ball at the end, and it's spinning. So that's what the basis of a pendulum is. Um, the important thing to know and how you choose it, do you feel connected to it? Do you like it? I acquired this along my journey. I have never really used it. I don't, I'm not really connected to it. I have it. I don't know why I have it, but I do. This one I've used in demonstrations and let other people manhandle and play with. Again, it's not that exciting to me. So I don't use it a lot in practice. This one I love. And when I started to figure out that this needed to happen, I actually pulled this out of my drawer and I was talking to, can't remember what reading it was I did, but how I didn't even know at the time when my friend picked it out for me what these crystals meant. We just thought it was a rainbow and thought it was beautiful. We didn't realize that it correlated to your seven chakras. Little did I know, years later, I would be singing, okay, we got to clear our chakras, we got to balance it, we got to align it. It's funny how, because this has been with me 25 years, give or take. I got it when I was very young. So, pendulums are easy to use. They have multiple uses. But what I want to explore today is how you can use it in the easiest format possible. Okay? So, your pendulum, depending on what it is made of, you want to make sure, especially if you're purchasing it from a store or online or wherever, that you clear it. Just like this is crystal, and a lot of them do come in the crystal format. You want to clear, connect, and charge this bad boy. Like anything else, just like the tarot, just like Any other tool, crystals that you would use, you want to do that. Um, for me, the easiest way, and I highly recommend this for everybody, is Reiki. I can Reiki this, no problem. Right? It's crystal. It holds the charge so well. Um, and it doesn't matter what material it's made out of, you can Reiki it. Even the metal ones, and I haven't seen as many metal ones around. You can Reiki this. For those who do find and are attracted to a metal pendulum, know that when you Reiki it, it feels very different than when you Reiki crystals. Okay? It kind of has a little bit of a bounce or twang to it, but you can clear it. You can clear anything. So that's an important part. The more time you spend working with your pendulum, allowing the crystals or the metal to kind of attune to you, the better you're going to get with it. It's going to be more accurate. Okay? Just like tarot, the more you use it, the more not only are you proficient in it and you trust those results, but the more connected it is to you. When you're charging it, so you clear it, you can use, like I said, Reiki. You can, Reiki masters know you don't have to touch, but you can. You can Reiki it. I would recommend things like passing it through incense or sage. That helps as well. Salt, especially if it's in the crystal realm, that will help clear it as well. When you want to charge it, hold it in your hands and set the intention. When you set an intention, just put it out there. I want accurate readings. I want to be able to easily tell and decipher what you're sharing with me for my greater good on all planes. It doesn't have to be elaborate. You can put a ceremony to it. There are many different spiritual bases that do have ceremonies for creating and maintaining tools. That is how much you want. I don't put a lot of ceremony into it because I want to be able to use my tools. It's like my gardening tools, right? I put intention into them that please help me get what I need out of the earth, but I don't put a lot of ceremony into it. And that's just my personal choice, and it works for me. For you, you need to do what works for you. Okay? I don't recommend people put their crystals or their tools in the sunlight to be cleared or the moonlight. I live way too far from the equator. I'm closer to the North Pole than I am the equator. I don't get that sun, that intensity, or the moon in that intensity to do any effect. You'd have to leave it out there for days or hours to do it. And I have small children and animals. It's not a good idea just to leave stuff like this out because they're attracted to this energy. Especially, and it's funny, cats and dogs are phenomenally attracted to crystals. Don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but that energy, especially the powerful ones, and it doesn't mean the big ones, guys, the powerful ones, like this one is so, so amazing. They know. I've been doing work, and I was doing some healing work with somebody, and their cat jumped up onto the bench with them and sat down and decided to enjoy the healing as well because of how powerful a crystal can be. So leaving your crystals, your pendulums out, especially something that will easily roll. That's like saying to a cat, don't touch the catnip. So, or even a dog, right? It moves. So being mindful of that. And if you have small children, they're shiny and sparkly. Even when my kids were younger, they would come in and grab my crystals. Now that they're older, they're creating crystal grids and using crystals in manners that I hadn't even thought of. So, yes, and I actually, as a side note, if you do have small children, yeah, you might not want to have them grabbing a pendulum. See what happens if you give them a bit of a crystal. That's, of course, not a choking hazard. They're not going to put in their mouth because some can get toxic when they get wet. But just to say, okay, let's talk crystals because they can see and feel things that we can't. So if you get a big crystal and you say, okay, honey, what do you see? What does it feel like? And have them describe it or draw it, talk to you about it. It's amazing. It's amazing what they can receive. So I've never said to my kids not to touch them. I ask them not to take them too far and create a crystal grid because sometimes mommy needs them to work. But, you know, hey, what can you do when you have kids who love crystals as much as you do? And yes, they already have their own crystal collection. So back to the pendulum. Once you've put that intention in, you've set that in go, it's ready to go. All you do with a pendulum, the easiest way I find is get a table, because if you were to try and use it this way, there's too much of your ego saying that it is the shaking of your arm. So place your arm on a table and then you can use it. If it's got the little holder piece, and this is why I like this one so much. It has this really nice little finger holder, if you will, that I can use it. If it doesn't, again, you can just hold it by whatever stopper's there. If yours does not have the end, it's okay. This one doesn't have an end. It just has like the longest chain known to mankind. I was meant to like bring it down, but I find this works well. If I wrap it around my hand, it will still give me a very accurate reading, and it's very stable that way. This one I can't wrap around my hand. It's too short. This one, you can't. So use your tool. Some people have, and this kind of longer cord or longer chain can be helpful if you have arthritis or dexterity issues. Okay, you can wrap it around your arm or your hand, and it will definitely work. Now, if you have something like this where it's a little bit shorter and you don't like the chain that is on it, this one literally looks like an end of a necklace. You can add and change the chain as much as you need, or if the chain breaks. So know your tool. Look at it, right? This has a little claspy thing. If you've done any jewelry making, you can easily extend or shorten the chain to suit you. You're really wanting to make sure that the end is what is drawing your attention. That is something that you enjoy, that connects and sings to you. I've seen them, and I don't have one that is wooden. I have seen them, and they're pretty cool. The resin ones, those are getting to be newer. Again, perfectly fine. There are a lot of people who are like, oh, it's got to be a natural, create like a natural, it's not element, but a natural resource as the end. So this one's obviously a crystal, wood, metal. I don't think that's as accurate, but that's my interpretation. If you want something that is more of a natural resource end, again, that's a you thing. And I would encourage you to follow what your heart is telling you. This is going to be a tool for you. I'm going to show you how easy it is. So once you have your pendulum, you've got it cleared and charged. And like I said, you can pass it through sage and it can take minutes to clear. and minutes to charge. We're not looking like an all day thing where you're like, I'm going to go set it down and let it sit. I'll come back tomorrow. Um, to me, that's too much time, and we may lose some of the motivation because who knows what today is going to bring or tomorrow. So having it quick and easy is going to be helpful. You have your pendulum, you hold it, make sure that your elbow is steady, and then you steady the pendulum so that it's not moving. Okay? And this one vibrates. That's why I love this one. You can see it. I'm not moving my hand, but it's vibrating. It's already starting to move. When you are starting to work with your pendulum, and kind of as a rule of thumb, especially if I haven't used this in a while, I ask it a question that I already know the answer to. Okay, now this question never used to have a problem, but in the last 5 years, it has started to have a few more cracks. The question that I usually ask as a baseline is, am I a girl in this lifetime or am I a female in this lifetime? So if I ask the pendulum, am I a female in this lifetime? The pendulum responds, I'm not moving my hand. The pendulum is going clockwise. Now, if I ask the pendulum, am I a male in this lifetime? Take a minute. Don't expect responses. It's got to change direction. It's stopping. It's starting to go in a different direction, in a counterclockwise direction. That is my baseline. Or, sorry, am I a boy in this lifetime? I'm not. In this lifetime, I'm a girl. So you want a yes, no kind of question. With the gender identification stuff, find a question that you find, yes, this is going to be a very definite yes or no. And something that your team would be able to say, oh, yeah, no. Okay. Don't ask it to tell you what a yes is. It may not give you the yes you want. Ask the question, because what we're going to deal with is yes, no questions. And before I get spammed by, oh, there's more you can do with the pendulum. Absolutely. This, it just kind of breaks the crust on what you can do with this. Just like a hammer, sure, you're going to use it to hammer in nails, but you can do more with it, or a screwdriver, okay? Once you get a baseline, then you can ask questions. Any questions. And this is actually a really nice tool, especially for you to start to reconfirm what you have received. So one of the first things that I suggest with my students and clients when they're trying to work with their high vibrational support team, because I always get asked this, what is the name of my guide? That's a question you can easily ask and receive the answer. So you can say, oh, okay, pendulum, is my guide's name Bob? If it is, it'll say yes. If it isn't, you can say no. And be careful with the guides because you could have multiple guides. You can say, is one of my guides Bob? Or is the guide that I connected with yesterday named Bob? Same with guardian angels. Some people have more than one. But they're not, it's not like your pendulum's going to be like, oh, I'm going to mess them up. It's a very black and white tool. It's either yes or no. The trick becomes if, say, you have, because with guides, you have your primary guides that are with you. You have some secondary guides that come in and out. And you have some guides that swoop in for a very short time and leave. So if you have a secondary guide named Bob, that's maybe where you might get a yes when it isn't. But just ask, is one of my primary guides Bob? Or whatever name it is you have. You know what I mean? Super easy. Confirming what you've interpreted. Okay? Um, Other ways you can check in, am I on the right track? Did I received X, Y, and Z? Is that the way I should go? Now, if you get I say this is very black and white. I've had situations if it's too big of a question, you may not get a thank you, a yes, no, you may get a back and forth. And that's because you're kind of right and you're kind of wrong. Break it down. Anytime I use my pendulum, because I don't use it a lot, I use it more in healing now, which is one of the modalities you can use it for. I always check my yes nos because it's sometimes they do like to shift, especially if I am upset or if there's a lot of energies. And it helps to bring me into the mind of my pendulum. Where is it at? Where am I at? Okay. So always ask, get that baseline, get into that kind of mind frame that I'm going to be working with my tool. I respect my tool. I want to see where my tool's at. When you use crystal ones, and I'm not going to get too much into this, but you can connect into what are called crystal divas. They are kind of like a high vibrational being connected in and working within the crystal system. So I always want to be respectful. Not only that, I am working with my high vibrational team. So being respectful and mindful of that. But you can ask those yes no questions. And if you're not too sure, if you get a maybe, like I said, clarify. This is the information that I got. Is it right? And let it go. For me, the answer is yes. Am I on the right track? So it's an easy tool to help to reinforce your already growing skill set. That's why I love the pendulum. And I'm not sure if it was a weekly reading or pretty actually, I think for the last 2 weeks I've talked about this because at Halloween, people like to use a Ouija board, and I'm not a big proponent of that because it's too associated with low vibrational energy. You're not intentionally trying to do something for your greater good. You're trying to contact a being or whomever is associated in a spot, or you're trying to call on a passed on loved one. There's no protection, no nothing. Can you channel and get information from other people with a pendulum? It's easier from my point of view, and this is just my personal viewpoint. Meditate, connect in with the person, and I've got lots of meditations on channeling now. Channel that information, then grab your pendulum and say, am I right? Because it's going to strengthen so much more than just saying, okay, I want to channel my grandma through my pendulum. Is it possible? Yes. Is it going to be as more meaningful for you? Try and channel grandma first. And then you can always ask her, you know what, can you wait? I'd like to use my pendulum. Can you continue to flow with me here? If your grandma's with you, absolutely. Unless there's something else going on. I've never had someone when we're channeling something, someone go, oh, you know what, I gotta go. That's not time in high vibration is so much different than time here. They don't go, oh, well, a week from tomorrow. It's length of strength. That can be very challenging to determine that length. So you do have some flexibility and some wiggle room here. Have some fun with it. Don't get so worked up that you're like, oh my God, what if I'm doing it wrong? What if, and this is the biggest one I get, what if it is me who's swinging the pendulum? So if you're basing your arm, if you anchor your elbow to a table or a counter or something like that, you know that you don't have, because if you're holding your hand up, we do have a tendency to start to twitch after a while. This gives you stability. Yeah, you know what we do? In a self, we vibrate an energetical pull. That's why the pendulum moves. Our energy is filling, like just feeding that pendulum, and it's giving us the information we need. Are you subconsciously moving that pendulum? Possibly. But that's called connecting into your higher self, girlfriend and boyfriend. It's I'm not like if you're going to physically move it, you actually have to move your and I knew I just twitched it. If you move your arm, it's going to obviously move your pendulum. You know when you twitch. And there was a time like if your muscles spasm, you can pull your pendulum straight and ask the question again. Your pendulum will naturally answer that question for a second time. You can say, "Sorry, my arm twitched, I sneezed. Can you please answer that question for me again?" And ask the question. Now, like tarot, your pendulum and your high vibrational team will get tired of you asking the same question, especially as it gives you the same answer. Common one for that, and I am sure that guides everywhere have a nice bruise on their forehead when this happens. When there's something that you really want, but aren't happy with the answer. Common one is Bob the man for me? And you get a no, but you want to be with Bob. So you ask, is Bob my twin flame? Get a no. You keep asking that question in different ways, however, meaning the same thing. You may start to get a neutral or an unknown answer. So reflect in how many times have you asked your pendulum that same question? So be aware of that. Just like tarot, if you keep asking the same question, your tarot is going to start to mess with your head. And it's usually common when it comes to a relationship, something that we don't really necessarily want to do or are resisting. Pendulum, same thing. Any divinational tool will get frustrated with you because you keep asking the same question and it keeps giving you the same answer. So, I'm not going to get in today on how you can gain more knowledge. I will do a pendulum part 2 about how you can get more knowledge. There is a way to do it. But before you start to run, you need to learn to walk. So we're going to take those steps. Enjoy your pendulum. Okay? Reinforce the information that you already have or are working with and are questioning. And I would minimize the amount you work with this because the last thing anybody wants is to become too reliant on your tool. And I say that because I know that I have students who like to consult their pendulum before doing anything. Um, that takes away a lot of trust in your own abilities. We want to use it to confirm right now what we already received. We don't want to be like, oh, should I do this? And my favorite thing is like, well, if that's the case, then you're going to have this forever stuck to your fingers. So instead, when you're looking at reflecting on where it is you are, what it is you just received, pull it out. But allow yourself to explore and intertwine other abilities on top of this. This is to help you, not to restrict you because you have to check or consult with it. I think of it as the magic 8 ball. It can be a lot of fun. Pendulums are always more accurate than the magic 8 ball. You don't walk around asking questions all the time to this tool to make your choices. You want it to support you, not start to be that noose around your neck that your ego will start to impact as it can. Okay. You use it every once in a while to check in. It's great. If you become over reliant on it, your ego will amplify that and it will start to say, well, you can't make that decision on your own. You need your pendulum. What are you thinking? So then it becomes less of a tool and more of a noose. So being very mindful of that. I want you guys to enjoy this. Have fun with it. It's a fantastic tool. Like I said, there are other avenues that you can take with your pendulum, and I will explore them as well. It's probably going to have to be, well, it is going to have to be in 2022, but take some time because if you're not using it, and I don't use my pendulum every day, and I don't encourage people to use it every day. We have way too many things on the go. Bring it out when you need it most, when you're really stuck and you want to share your ego. You know what? You're learning and you're working on your skills and your abilities. It really helps to amplify where you're at because even if you're not quite on track and you're moving forward, what you received will support you. Okay? Have fun with this. Please do not fear these. These are amazing tools. Like I said, in 2022, I will get into more an advanced use of your pendulum and how you can support yourself in doing some healing with the pendulum. Two different classes. There's so much out there. It's such a fantastic experience right now because we are able to use different tools, different elements of different spiritualities, healings, teachings to our advantage. So if you have any questions, please leave them below on the pendulum or how you can go forward with your tool set. Also, if you know that there's something that you would like to know more about and you think that I might be part of it, you can ask. If it's not a tool or a theory that I use, I might be able to direct you in the right direction. So enjoy, have fun. Super important when you're using your tools. I want to thank you for joining me today in this Pendulum 101, helping you to start to channel that higher vibrational energy further, and also starting to use a tool that's going to help you as you move forward. If you did like this video, little housekeeping here, thumbs up, helps people find me on the sea of YouTube. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. I'm on at least twice a week. I do meditations on Tuesdays. I do lives on Fridays for the week ahead, but I also, like today, have a random Wednesday where we're working on a pendulum. I have all sorts of different readings, all sorts of different tools that I'm supporting you with. Best way to not miss anything, subscribe. Hit the little red bell, you'll know when I'm live, and then I can help answer your questions. Thanks so much for joining me. Enjoy your pendulum. Until tomorrow, my friends.